Hi and welcome to my channel where I make dishes inspired by some of my favorite video game characters. Today's dish is inspired by Sakuna from Sakuna of Rice and Ruin. This game is an absolute treasure to play and I have such good memories of it. It's definitely one of the more joyful times of my life playing such a pure and sweet game. I am a huge fan of farming sims and slice of life cozy games, and I also love the beauty of Japan and Asian culture. This is a perfect marriage of the two, and admittedly it was very fun to play a farming sim where there was just one crop to focus on and perfect: rice. It was so enjoyable to learn about all of the work that goes into growing rice and all of the different stages of growing and cultivating rice. Sakuna of Rice and Ruin of course is not just a rice cultivation game. There's also bits of combat and exploration too, and this was so enjoyable as well. The battle and exploration is nothing crazy special, but I think that actually fits really well with the game, and the low-stakes feeling of the combat makes everything so much more cozy. The environments of the game were so beautiful, the music was absolutely fantastic, getting to know the other characters and accumulating adorable pets was a blast, and getting to control the adorable and mischievous Sakuna was the cherry on top. I can't recommend this game enough as just a truly enjoyable experience to make you feel more grounded and connected to nature and those around you, and I'm on board for any future installments of this franchise. I know it's a bit obvious, but I had to make something related to rice for Sakuna, and on top of that, I knew that I wanted to make something with a Japanese inspiration to it. I thought about how at the beginning of the game, Sakuna can be found drunk, and so I figured making something with sake would work perfectly, especially since it sounds somewhat close to her name. I also have plenty of memories of making food through the cooking mechanic of the game, and for some reason, one of the ingredients I remember having to collect a lot was mushrooms. So all of this together led me to making a sake mushroom risotto that would be sure to satisfy this picky war/harvest goddess. Here's what you'll need to make your own. First off, you'll need 6 cups of dashi broth. You can buy from the store or quickly make your own. And if making your own, you'll need water, kombu, and katsuobushi or bonito flakes. To make the risotto, you'll need your 6 cups of dashi broth, peanut oil, 1 shallot, garlic, about 1 pound of shiitake mushrooms, salt, black pepper, soy sauce, arborio rice, sake, optional MSG, frozen peas, grated Parmesan cheese, chili paste, green onions, and sesame seeds. Now I'm going to start this whole process by prepping some of my ingredients, that way everything is ready to go when I need it. Also, apologies that the sun will be blinding on my cutting board here, but it was a beautiful and sunny evening when I recorded this. First, I'll peel and mince 1 shallot and at least 5 cloves of garlic. You'll see I have 2 shallots here, but that's only because they were slightly small. You only need 1. Additionally, you need 5 cloves of garlic, but like many others, I am a garlic fiend, so I usually add a bit more. Once the shallot and garlic are minced, transfer them to a small bowl and set aside. While you're still at your cutting board, you'll slice about 1 pound of shiitake mushrooms into thin slices. You don't need to be extremely thin like paper or anything, but like 1/3 or 1/4 inch thick. This may seem like a lot of mushrooms, but as they cook down later, they will shrink slightly. Also, shiitake mushrooms have a really unique and wonderful umami taste and texture, but if you want to make this and can't find them, you could substitute for brown mushrooms in a pinch. Just like the garlic and shallot, transfer your sliced mushrooms to a bowl and set aside for later. You'll also wash and thinly slice some of the green ends of your green onions for garnish later, and one other green thing we'll slice is our kombu. That is, only if you're making your dashi broth. Grab the kombu and slice it until you have about 3 2x2 inch squares, then set these aside as well. The last prep I'm going to do is shred my Parmesan cheese. You can use pre-shredded, but the texture of the cheese might be slightly smoother in the finished product if you shred your own. You're looking to grate about a 1/4 cup's worth of Parmesan, give or take. Then place the cheese into a bowl and return it to the fridge until close to the end of the cooking process. Now that everything is ready, we'll head over to the stovetop. We'll start by making the dashi broth, which of course, you can skip if you have some already prepared. If you already have some, simply pour the 6 cups of broth into a pot and heat on medium-low until warm. Then reduce the heat to low to keep warm until later. Anyways, to make our dashi, we'll grab a medium pot and pour in 6 cups of water. Into the pot, we'll add our 3 slices of kombu. We'll start heating the pot on medium heat until you start to see the surface of the water steaming. Once steaming, keep heating the pot, uncovered, on medium heat for about 5 minutes. The water shouldn't boil at this temperature, but if it looks like it's starting to simmer, just lower the temperature to avoid it turning into a boil. Once your water has been heating for 5 minutes, you'll then turn off the heat and add in about 2 cups of your bonito flakes. You shouldn't need to stir, as all of the flakes will slowly get submerged in the liquid. Once all 3 ingredients are combined, allow the liquid to steep for 10 minutes. Then, after 10 minutes, you can filter the broth through a filter or sieve, making sure you don't make the tragic mistake of forgetting a bowl underneath so that all of your hard work doesn't literally go down the drain. Straining will allow us to easily discard the bonito flakes and kombu, but as you strain, make sure to press down on the flakes and kombu, that way you can get every last drop of the broth. Once you've strained the broth, you can pour it back into your pot and place it back onto the stovetop at low heat to keep the broth warm for later, during the risotto cooking process. While your broth is steeping, you can start heating a large skillet on medium heat as it's time to work on the risotto. Once the surface is warm, add about 2 tablespoons of peanut oil, and then drop in your minced shallot and garlic. You'll saute the aromatics, stirring occasionally, for about 3 minutes until the mix becomes fragrant and the shallots are becoming more translucent. At this point, you'll add in your sliced shiitake mushrooms and then season to taste with some salt and pepper. Don't freak out here. If you're like me, you'll be worried that there are too many mushrooms, but again, they'll start to shrink a little in size. When you add the mushrooms, you'll cook for around 2 minutes without stirring. Then you'll add in 3 tablespoons of soy sauce and continue cooking, now stirring occasionally, for another 3 to 8 minutes. You'll notice that the mushrooms will become a really rich brown color and they'll slowly become more tender. Once the mushrooms are looking beautiful, you'll add in 1.5 cups of uncooked arborio rice. You'll make sure to cook and stir constantly for about 2 minutes until the rice starts becoming more golden in color. Once the rice is golden, you'll increase the heat to medium-high and then deglaze the pan with 1.5 cups of sake. As the sake goes in, use your wooden spoon to stir and scrape the bottom of the pan so that any brown bits at the bottom are lifted off. It shouldn't take long for this sake to start boiling and bubbling, and once it does, turn the heat back down to medium. You'll keep heating and stirring constantly until there is barely any liquid left in the skillet. Once the liquid is mostly gone, you'll then use a ladle or a half-cup measuring cup to add about a half cup of the warmed dashi broth into the pan. You'll continue cooking and stirring constantly once again until there is barely any liquid left, and then you'll repeat by adding another half cup of dashi. This process will repeat and repeat and repeat until your rice is cooked al dente. It might seem like it takes a while, but risottos do require a bit of patience. Make sure that you are stirring constantly to make sure that no rice gets burned and the liquid can start to more evenly cook into the rice. All in all, this part of the process probably took me about 15 minutes, so it's not insanely long, but do be ready to be kind of glued to your stovetop for a while. The rice should pretty much use all of the dashi broth you have to reach al dente, and once the rice is wonderfully cooked, you'll remove the pan from the heat. To finish this beautiful dish off, you'll add in a 1/4 teaspoon of MSG, 1 cup of frozen peas, your shredded 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese, and 2 tablespoons of chili paste. Stir to combine the whole dish to make sure that everything is well dispersed, and taste and season with more salt and pepper if needed. All that's left then is to transfer the risotto over to serving bowls or plates and garnish with our sliced green onions and sesame seeds, then dig in and enjoy. This is such a stellar dish that I absolutely devoured, and that means a lot coming from someone who isn't usually the biggest fan of risotto. The dashi broth adds this beautiful depth of umami to each bite, and the shiitake mushrooms add such an intriguing chew and texture. Everything feels so creamy and smooth to eat, but at the same time, it feels fresh and not too heavy. I love the comfort this dish provides, but the tiny hint of heat from the chili paste also keeps you on your toes as you eat. If you make some yourself, you'll have a hard time resisting cleaning your plate and going back for seconds. Because of Sakuna's adorable appearance, she finds it hard to get others to take her seriously, but she feels like if she whipped up this sophisticated dinner, everyone would have to see her for the mature goddess she truly is. She has memories of her parents making her plenty of rice dishes made with shiitake mushrooms, but since she's been on her own and learning to grow her own rice and forage her own ingredients, she's starting to experiment on dishes of her own. Her creativity in the kitchen would continue to soar, especially with the diverse people around her, and one of the dishes she would become most proud of would be this sake mushroom risotto. She'd be beaming with pride and happiness as everyone around her sang her praises, and even all of the dogs and cats she had adopted would be begging for some with those big, adorable eyes. Sakuna would absolutely love how appreciated she felt for providing such nutritious and delicious meals to her friends. The praises would inflate her ego a little bit, but tasting the amazing things she had learned to make would also remind her of how much she can learn from humans if she just took the time to slow down. The recipe card is in the video description if you'd like a more quick and concise version to give it a try. Like if you want a bite, subscribe for more geeky treats, and comment what food Sakuna reminds you of. Thanks for following along.